Let me ask you something that might change how you see your life from this day forward. Who's programming your mind? You or the world? I know that might sound dramatic at first, but let's break it down. Every single day, whether you realize it or not, your mind is being shaped, not once a month, not once a year, every day. The question is never if you're being influenced. It's who or what is doing the influencing. Is it the news selling you fear and outrage? Is it social media feeding you unrealistic standards and distraction? Is it the voices from your past, parents, teachers, critics, still echoing in your head, saying you're not good enough, smart enough, strong enough? Or are you the one writing your own code, choosing your own thoughts? That's the heart of this journey. That's where power lives. See, most people are walking around like operating systems running on outdated software. They think they're in control of their choices, but they're actually just reacting to beliefs they never chose, behaviors they never questioned, and stories about themselves that someone else wrote. And here's the kicker. The most effective form of brainwashing doesn't come from cults or conspiracies. It comes from repetition. Yes, repetition. That thing you might have once thought was boring, it's not. It's how the brain learns. It's how habits form. It's how identity is built. And it works, whether the content being repeated serves you or destroys you. Think about this. How many times have you told yourself the same negative story over and over again? I'm not good with money. I always mess things up. I'll never be like them. Say it enough times and it doesn't feel like a story anymore. It feels like truth. But here's the twist. If repetition can program self-doubt, it can also reprogram confidence. If it can reinforce limits, it can also build freedom. The key? Intention. Instead of letting the world program you by default, you can wake up every day and choose your input. Choose what thoughts get repeated, what ideas get your focus, what story you tell yourself when no one's watching. This isn't about toxic positivity. It's not about pretending everything's fine when it's not. It's about reclaiming your mental real estate. Because if you don't, someone else will rent it out for their own agenda, and they won't pay in kindness. Let me share something personal with you. There was a time I used to start my mornings by checking my phone, news, emails, comments. Within 10 minutes, my mood was hijacked. My thoughts weren't my own. My day wasn't mine anymore. It belonged to the noise. So I made one small shift. I started my mornings with one question. What kind of person am I becoming today? Then I'd repeat one clear sentence to myself. A new belief, a conscious choice, not always something I fully believe yet, but something I wanted to become true. And over time, guess what? My identity started to catch up with my intention. This is why I say, you don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your programming. And the beautiful thing is, you get to rewrite the code. So today, I invite you to start seeing your thoughts like seeds. What you plant with repetition will grow, whether it's weeds of doubt or roots of purpose. Your life becomes the story you rehearse. So, what are you rehearsing? What are you repeating when no one's listening? Because repetition isn't just how we memorize, it's how we become. You are not a random result. You are a reflection of your dominant thoughts. And that, my friend, means you are not powerless. You are programmable. But only if you decide to take back the pen, reclaiming your mental script. Let me tell you something that might surprise you. You've already been brainwashed. I don't mean that in a sci-fi conspiracy kind of way. I mean it in the most human, real, everyday sense possible. Your beliefs, the thoughts you have about who you are, what you can do, what you deserve, They didn't just fall from the sky. They were shaped, fed to you, repeated until they stuck. From the moment you could walk, you've been absorbing messages from parents, teachers, friends, from television, religion, social media, even from failures that whispered, "You'll never make it," or compliments that turned into pressure. You always have to be the best. And somewhere along the way, those ideas turned into a script, a kind of invisible code running in the background of your life. You think you're making choices, but most of the time, you're just following that old code. Ever catch yourself thinking, "I'm not good enough, I'll mess this up," or "this is just who I am"? That's not truth talking. That's conditioning. And here's the wild part. We rarely question it. Most people live their whole lives acting out a mental script they didn't even write. A script that tells them to stay small, stay safe, stay quiet. And because it's familiar, they assume it must be true. But familiar doesn't mean truth. It just means repeated. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic minds, once said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." In other words, you become what you allow to repeat in your mind. So let me ask you, what color is your soul right now? Is it painted with self-doubt, fear, and hesitation? Or with courage, clarity, and direction? Because the truth is, if you don't take back authorship of your mind, the world will keep writing your story for you. And it's not writing a bestseller. It's writing a loop, a cycle, a trap. So how do we break free? It starts with one word: awareness. Awareness means noticing when you're on autopilot. When that old voice creeps in and says, "You always fail," pause. Ask yourself, where did that voice come from? Was it a teacher who shamed you? A parent who never said, "I'm proud of you"? A society that profits from your insecurity? Because the moment you recognize this isn't my voice, that's the moment the spell breaks. But don't stop there. After awareness comes intention. You don't just delete the toxic thought, you replace it. You choose something better, something aligned with who you want to become. Not empty affirmations, but beliefs rooted in purpose. I am capable. I am growing. I don't have to be perfect. I just have to begin. At first, these thoughts might feel fake, like you're lying to yourself, but you're not. You're rehearsing a new truth. And here's the beauty of it. Your brain doesn't care whether a thought is true or false. It only cares whether you repeat it. So repeat what you want to become, over and over, until your nervous system stops resisting and starts believing. Listen, you are not broken. You're not too late. You're not behind. You're just running on a script that was never yours. And now it's time to rewrite it. Because the story of your life, it's not over. You're still the author. And the next chapter begins the moment you pick up the pen. The power of repetition. Rewire your identity. Let's get real for a second. Who do you believe you are? Not who you post about online, not who your resume says, but deep down, what's the story you repeat to yourself when it's quiet? Because here's the truth most people never realize. Your identity isn't fixed. It's not something you just find one day. It's something you build, thought by thought, word by word, action by action. Think of it this way. Every sentence you say to yourself is like a drop of paint. And over time, those drops color the entire canvas of your self-image. Say, "I'm lazy," often enough, and you'll start living like someone who's lazy. You'll avoid risk. You'll delay goals. You'll self-sabotage, not because you're weak, but because you've rehearsed that identity so many times it became automatic. Now flip it. Imagine if instead you said, "I'm building something," even if it's small, even if it's not perfect. That phrase carries movement. intention, possibility, and that's the power of repetition. Most of us grew up thinking repetition is boring. We were taught that repeating something over and over was just for memorizing flashcards or cramming for tests. But in real life, repetition isn't boring. It's identity training. It's how your brain builds belief. It's how your nervous system learns what to expect. It's how you become someone new, not overnight, but over and over again. Let me share something personal. There was a time in my life when I couldn't finish anything. I had a trail of half-written projects, missed deadlines, unfinished plans, and the story I told myself was, I never follow through. I didn't even realize I was saying it. It was just there, in the background, until one day I caught it, that voice, that script, and I decided to replace it, not with fake motivation or unrealistic hype, but with a simple, steady truth. I finish what matters. At first, it didn't feel true, but I repeated it anyway, every morning, every time I hit resistance, every time I wanted to quit. And guess what? Over time, that new phrase started to take root. My actions changed, my focus sharpened, and slowly, I became the kind of person who followed through. Not by magic, but by repetition. Here's what most people miss. Repetition equals freedom, but only when it's intentional. If you're not choosing the thoughts that loop through your mind, the world will do it for you. Social media, advertising, old wounds, they'll all feed you lines you didn't ask for. And if you hear them enough times, you'll start to believe them. That's why you have to curate your inner vocabulary like your life depends on it. Because in many ways it does. So ask yourself, what are the phrases I repeat when no one's around? Do they support the future I want to create or sabotage it? If a stranger lived in my head for a day, what would they believe about me? This isn't about being fake. It's about being deliberate. Say, I'm learning. I'm getting stronger. I'm becoming more focused every day. Say it even when you don't fully believe it, especially then, because your brain doesn't argue with repetition. It responds to it. It adapts to it. It reshapes your behavior to match your internal commands. The Stoics knew this long before neuroscience backed it up. They taught that what you repeat becomes what you believe, and what you believe becomes who you are. So if you want to change your life, don't just set goals. Set language. Make your inner dialogue a place of power, not punishment. Because repetition isn't just how you memorize, it's how you evolve. And if you want a different future, start rehearsing for it today. Control your environment. Align your space. Align your mind. Let me ask you something simple, but powerful. When was the last time your space truly supported your peace? We don't often think about this. We tell ourselves we're just too busy or that our mess is harmless. But here's the truth. Outer chaos creates inner chaos. What's around you is a reflection of what's within you. And more importantly, it's shaping your mindset every single day. Take a look around your environment, your home, your desk, your phone screen. Is it clean, calm, focused? Or is it cluttered, noisy, and full of distractions? Most of us don't connect the dots, but your space isn't neutral. It's sending signals to your brain all day long. When you walk into a messy room, your mind doesn't say, this is fine. It says, we're behind. We're overwhelmed. We're disorganized. Even if you don't consciously feel it, your nervous system is absorbing it. Now imagine the opposite. You walk into a space that's clean, organized, minimal. Everything has purpose. What does that tell your brain? It says we're grounded, we're safe, we're in control. That's not just about aesthetics. That's mental alignment. Here's what the Stoics taught us, and it's more relevant now than ever. Simplify your surroundings to strengthen your soul. Epictetus owned almost nothing, not because he was poor, but because he believed that too much external noise created too much internal noise. Seneca warned that luxury, when uncontrolled, becomes a kind of prison, not because possessions are bad, but because the attachment to them weakens the mind. Now think about your digital environment, your phone, your browser, your social media. How many notifications are fighting for your attention before you even eat breakfast? How many tabs are open right now on your screen? We're constantly feeding our brains clutter. And then we wonder why we can't focus, why we feel anxious, why peace feels out of reach. But it doesn't have to be this way. You can take back control of your environment. Start small. Clean your desk, not for looks, but for clarity. Organize your apps. Silence non-essential notifications. Create digital boundaries that protect your peace. You don't need to become a minimalist overnight, but you do need to become intentional. Create a space that reflects who you're becoming, not who you used to be in survival mode. Let your surroundings whisper your goals back to you. Let your bedroom feel like rest. Let your workspace feel like purpose. Let your phone feel like a tool, not a trap. And don't stop at your physical space. Think about your emotional environment too. Who are you spending time with? Do they challenge you to grow or drain you with negativity and distraction? Are your conversations nourishing or numbing? You may not be able to change everything overnight, but every small choice counts. Because your environment, both physical and emotional, is the soil where your identity grows. So here's something to reflect on. What does your current environment say about your current mindset? What small change could you make today to bring more alignment between the space around you and the life you want to build? Because when you shift your surroundings, something powerful happens. You begin to shift internally too. Your focus sharpens, your stress softens, your actions become more deliberate, and eventually you stop fighting the noise because you've created a space that supports your silence. Remember, success doesn't live in chaos, clarity doesn't bloom in clutter, and peace is not found. It's designed. So today, take the first step. Clean one drawer, turn off one notification, remove one distraction, and as your outer world transforms, your inner world will follow. You don't need a new life. You need a new environment that brings the best out of the life you already have. Gratitude as a weapon. Train your mind for abundance. When you hear the word gratitude, what comes to mind? Maybe a Hallmark card. Maybe a Thanksgiving dinner where someone says, "Let's go around and say what we're thankful for." It sounds soft, right? But here's the truth no one talks about. Gratitude isn't soft. It's a weapon. It cuts straight through fear. It disarms comparison. And it absolutely destroys that creeping feeling of "I'm not enough." Gratitude is mental armor. It's not just about feeling good. It's about seeing clearly. Because when you train your mind to recognize what's already here, already working, already good, you stop obsessing over what's missing. Let me ask you, how often do you wake up and feel behind? Like you're already late to a life you haven't even fully defined yet. You scroll through your phone and everyone seems more successful, more attractive, more put together. Suddenly your day hasn't even started and you already feel like you're losing. Why? Because you're viewing life through a lens of lack. And here's what that does. It hijacks your dopamine system. Instead of feeling grounded, you're chasing, grasping, scrolling, comparing, looking for the next thing that might finally make you feel okay. But the truth is, you can't chase your way to peace. You have to train your brain to feel it. And gratitude is how you do it. Gratitude doesn't mean settling. It doesn't mean giving up on goals or ambition. In fact, it's the opposite. Gratitude grounds your ambition. It gives you a strong foundation to build from, a mindset of strength instead of desperation. And the Stoics knew this centuries ago. Seneca once said, "No man is poor who has enough, and enough is what meets the needs of the wise." That's not just philosophy, that's neuroscience. Modern studies now show that real gratitude practices can rebalance your dopamine system. It calms your nervous system, boosts mood, improves focus, helps you reset when life feels heavy. And the best part? It's free, and it takes 5 minutes. Here's something the Stoics did that we can borrow today. It's called negative visualization. They would intentionally imagine losing the things they already had, not to scare themselves, but to deepen their appreciation for them. Imagine waking up tomorrow and not having your eyesight, your voice, the people you love. Wouldn't your current life feel more than enough? This isn't about fear, it's about perspective. Now, I know life gets busy. You don't need a journal full of poetry, but here's what you can do, starting tonight. Take 5 minutes before bed. No phone, no distractions, just you and your thoughts, and write down 3 specific things you're grateful for. Not general stuff like family or health. Be precise. I'm grateful for the quiet walk I took this morning. I'm grateful that I didn't give up on a tough conversation. I'm grateful for the way my coffee tasted after a rough night. And don't just list them, feel them. Let your nervous system absorb the message. We are safe. We are full. We are blessed. When you do this consistently, your mind starts to change. You stop needing constant approval. You stop chasing validation. You realize you already have more than you once prayed for. You stop creating from emptiness and start growing from abundance. So here's the question. What are you grateful for that you've been overlooking? What small, quiet blessing have you stopped noticing? And more importantly, what would your life feel like if you believed it was already enough? Because when you anchor your mind in gratitude, you no longer chase success out of fear. You create from strength, from clarity, from peace. And that, my friend, that is real power. Curate your inputs. Protect the gate to your mind. Let me ask you a question you probably haven't thought about lately. What are you feeding your mind every day? I'm not talking about what you eat. I'm talking about your mental diet, the content you consume, the people you surround yourself with, the conversations you participate in, the voices you let in. Because here's the truth. Your thoughts aren't just yours. They're shaped by your inputs. We live in a world where information never sleeps. You wake up and scroll. You drive and listen. You work and check notifications. You're constantly absorbing messages. And guess what? Those messages are shaping your emotions, your beliefs, and even your identity. Let's be real. How many times have you finished scrolling through the news or social media and actually felt better? Most of the time, we feel anxious, distracted, or just numb, but we shrug it off like it's normal. It's just the internet. It's just a meme. It's just background noise. But Epictetus, one of the great Stoic teachers, had a different perspective. He said, if someone tried to hand you poison, you'd be angry. But when someone feeds your mind poison, you swallow it with a smile. And that hits hard, because most people don't even realize what they're letting in. They treat their minds like junk drawers, overflowing with opinions, outrage, comparison, and gossip. But here's the thing. Your mind isn't a trash can. It's your operating system, your control center, your foundation, and it needs protection. Think of it this way. You wouldn't invite someone into your home who insults you, lies to you, or makes you feel worthless, right? But every time you scroll past toxic content, follow someone who glorifies perfection, or let gossip fuel your day, you're doing exactly that. You're letting that energy into your mental home. That's why mental curation isn't a luxury, it's survival. You've got to audit your inputs the same way you'd clean out your diet if you were trying to get healthy. Start with your social media feed. Who are you following? What are they teaching you? Intentionally or unintentionally? Do they inspire growth or trigger insecurity? Do they promote wisdom or constant outrage? Do they remind you of who you want to become or keep you stuck in a loop? And this goes beyond just Instagram or YouTube. What shows are you watching? What podcasts are you listening to? What conversations are on repeat in your daily life? All of these things, every one of them, is an input, and inputs shape outcomes. Now, I'm not saying cut off everything that isn't sunshine and motivation. That's not realistic, and it's not what Stoicism teaches either. This isn't about avoiding discomfort. It's about choosing what deserves your energy. So here's a challenge. Just for 1 week, intentionally curate your inputs. Unfollow 3 accounts that drain you. Turn off 1 notification that interrupts your peace. Replace 10 minutes of doom scrolling with 10 minutes of something that actually uplifts you. A book, a lesson, a moment of stillness. You'll be amazed at how quickly your clarity returns, how much calmer your mind feels, how your motivation starts to rebuild, not because you forced it, but because you finally gave it space to grow. And here's the most powerful part. Once you start protecting your inputs, your entire output changes. Your focus sharpens. Your self-talk becomes more supportive. You stop reacting and start responding. Because at the end of the day, you are not what you consume, but what you repeat from what you consume. So choose carefully, curate relentlessly. Guard your mind like it matters, because it does. Your peace, your clarity, your future, they depend on it. Redefining discipline, devotion to your future self. When you hear the word discipline, what comes to mind? For a lot of people, it sounds harsh, cold, restrictive. You picture early alarms, strict routines, saying no to fun, and grinding through life like some kind of punishment. But let me offer a different view, one that's not only more powerful, but more sustainable. Discipline isn't punishment. It's devotion. It's not about denying yourself joy or pushing yourself into misery. Real discipline is about honoring your future self, the person you're becoming. Every time you choose structure over chaos, focus over distraction, action over excuses, you're not being hard on yourself. You're being loyal to the version of you who deserves better. And that's not harsh. That's love. Let me give you an example. Think about waking up early to journal or move your body. It might feel uncomfortable in the moment, cold floor, tired eyes, inner resistance, but it's not about punishment. It's about saying, I respect the version of me who starts the day with intention. Or maybe you turn off your notifications for 2 hours so you can focus on a project that really matters. It's not deprivation. It's a declaration. My peace matters more than someone else's urgency. The Stoics understood this better than most. Marcus Aurelius wrote, just do what is right. The rest doesn't matter. To them, discipline wasn't about grinding. It was about alignment, about doing the right thing, not because it was easy, but because it was true. And here's the science to back it up. Discipline actually reprograms your dopamine system. See, dopamine isn't just about pleasure, it's about anticipation. When you train your brain to expect rewards from effort, not just from distractions, everything starts to shift. You stop chasing quick fixes. You start craving alignment. And that builds something even more powerful than motivation. It builds self-trust. Because every time you follow through on a commitment, even a small one, you're sending a signal to yourself, I can count on me. And that's what most people are missing. They don't lack potential, they lack proof. Proof that they'll show up. Proof that they will finish what they start. Proof that they can do hard things. Discipline provides that proof. Not through force, but through repetition, through small daily acts of loyalty to your higher self. So here's a simple challenge, one that can change your life if you take it seriously. Pick one tiny act of devotion. Maybe it's 10 minutes of movement each morning. Maybe it's turning your phone off after 9 p.m. Maybe it's writing one sentence about your goals before bed. Whatever it is, make it sacred. Don't do it for perfection, do it for alignment. Because here's the truth. Discipline isn't about who's the toughest. It's about who's the most consistent. And the more you show up, the more you start to feel that shift. Your energy becomes calmer. Your focus becomes clearer. Your life becomes less reactive and more intentional. That's not punishment. That's freedom. So today, redefine what discipline means to you. Not as a rule book to follow, but as a way of saying, I care enough about my future to act with purpose today. That's not cold. That's powerful. That's stoic. And that's how you build a life that reflects who you truly are, one decision at a time. Speak your future into existence. The hidden power of words. Let me tell you something most people don't fully realize. Your words shape your world. Not just what you say out loud, but especially the words you whisper to yourself when no one's around. Those quiet phrases, they're not just commentary, they're commands, mental blueprints, emotional scripts. The truth is, language is never neutral. Every time you speak, even silently in your mind, you're training your nervous system to believe something about who you are and what's possible for you. So here's the big question. What kind of future are you speaking into existence? Let me be clear. This isn't about fluffy positive thinking or empty hype. I'm not telling you to stand in front of a mirror and chant things you don't believe. What I'm saying is this. Don't wait to believe in yourself before you speak like someone who does. Because belief doesn't always come first. Often, language leads and belief follows. Let's break that down. Every time you say, I'm just not good at this, your brain records it. Every time you say, I never follow through, your body listens. The more you say it, the more it sinks in. Until it's no longer a thought, it's your identity. But guess what? The opposite is also true. You can speak new thoughts into your mind, even if they feel awkward at first. You can say, I'm learning. I'm getting stronger. I don't have to be perfect. I just have to show up. And when you say these things with emotion and repetition, your brain starts to adapt. It rewires, it listens. Why? Because your subconscious doesn't respond to logic. It responds to rhythm, tone, and consistency. That's why affirmations work, not because they're magical, but because they are intentional mental programming. Even the Stoics knew this. Marcus Aurelius, emperor of Rome and one of the wisest men to ever walk the earth, used journaling not to document events, but to train his mind. He didn't wait until he felt strong to write strong thoughts. He wrote things like, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Why? Because he needed to remind himself, over and over, who he was choosing to become. And so do we. Let me give you a real-life example. A few years ago, I was stuck in self-doubt. I kept telling myself, you're not ready, You don't have enough experience. You're too late. Until one day I realized these weren't truths. They were just rehearsed thoughts, old tapes, noise I'd been playing on repeat. So I changed the script. I started saying, I'm learning every day. I'm building something that matters. I am becoming who I need to be. I said those things when I didn't feel them. And that's the key. You don't say affirmations because they're already true. You say them until they become true. Now, I'm not suggesting you lie to yourself. I'm saying you speak what's possible. You plant seeds. You shape the mental path your feet will eventually follow. Because in the end, the voice that speaks with the most certainty most often wins. So ask yourself, what phrases do you say to yourself every single day? Are they building your confidence or quietly tearing it down? What would it look like to replace just one of those with something that supports your future? Start simple. Start small. But start, say it out loud, write it down, repeat it until your system stops resisting and starts listening. Because every word you speak is a step in the direction you're walking. And your future isn't just something you wait for. It's something you speak into motion, one sentence at a time. Detach from negative thoughts. You are not your mind's noise. Here's something that might change the way you see yourself forever. You are not your thoughts. Let that sink in for a moment, because most of us go through life assuming that whatever pops into our head must be real. If the thought says, I'm not good enough, we believe it. If it whispers, I'll fail again, we surrender. But that voice, that narrative, most of the time, it's not even yours. A lot of the thoughts running through your mind every day aren't original. They're echoes, echoes of old fear, of past trauma, of the media you consume, of the things adults said to you when you were a child. And if you don't stop to examine those thoughts, you'll start living your life as if they're facts. But they're not facts, they're just mental noise. That's where Stoic wisdom comes in. Simple, powerful, and relevant even today. The philosopher Epictetus said, it's not things that upset us, but our judgment of things. In other words, it's not the situation that creates the suffering. It's the meaning we attach to it. Think about that. You don't get anxious because your inbox has 30 unread messages. You get anxious because of the story you tell yourself. I'm falling behind. I can't keep up. I'm failing. You don't feel stuck because nothing is changing. You feel stuck because your mind says, this is permanent. You're not capable of moving forward. But what if you could pause and see those thoughts for what they really are? Just thoughts? Here's the practice. When a negative thought arises, don't argue with it. Don't obey it. Don't spiral into it. Just observe it. Like watching a cloud float by in the sky. Say to yourself, that's just a thought, not a command, not the truth, just a passing idea. This is the heart of detachment, not about becoming cold or numb. It's about creating space between stimulus and response, space to breathe, space to choose. Because once you realize that you are the observer of your thoughts, not the slave to them, everything changes. You go from being controlled by your mind to controlling your mindset. Let me give you a personal example. A few years ago, I used to get this recurring thought. You're way behind. Everyone else your age is ahead. That one sentence used to trigger hours of anxiety, guilt, and self-comparison. Until one day I asked, where did that thought come from? Was it true? Was it helpful? Not really. Did it align with the version of me I wanted to become? Definitely not. So I stopped feeding it. I stopped letting it drive the car. And eventually it got quieter. Not gone forever, but no longer in charge. That's what detachment looks like. Not fighting your thoughts, not denying them, just seeing them for what they are and choosing whether they deserve your attention. This isn't just philosophy, it's neuroscience. The more you observe your thoughts without reacting, the more you train your brain to stay calm, grounded, and focused. Your stress levels drop. Your decision-making improves. You get your power back. So here's something to try. Next time a limiting thought shows up, pause, name it. Label it as a fear, a memory, a trigger, or simply a story. Then ask, is this thought useful? Is it true? Does it align with who I want to be? If the answer is no, let it pass, because you are not the storm, you are the sky, calm, spacious, capable of holding it all without becoming it. You don't have to silence every thought. You just have to stop confusing every thought with the truth. And once you do that, you reclaim your inner authority. You start choosing how you feel, how you respond, and how you move forward. That's what mental freedom looks like. That's what the Stoics train for. And it's available to you right now with a single breath. The reset power of silence. Stillness is strength. Let me ask you something simple, but powerful. When was the last time you heard nothing? I don't mean the absence of music or the TV in the background. I mean true silence. No notifications, no scrolling, no podcast in your ears. Just you, with your breath, with your thoughts, with your presence. If that question makes you uncomfortable, you're not alone. We live in a world addicted to noise. There's always something playing, pinging, vibrating, demanding. And over time, we get so used to the stimulation that silence feels awkward, even scary. But here's the truth. Silence isn't emptiness. It's a reset button. It's not a void. It's a return to your center, to your clarity, to the part of you that doesn't need to prove anything, scroll for validation, or keep up with the chaos. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, wrote something profound in his personal meditations. Nowhere you can go is more peaceful, more free of interruptions than your own soul. He didn't say that to sound poetic. He said it because he lived it. Even as the ruler of an empire, surrounded by war, politics, and noise, he made time to retreat inward because he knew that the greatest clarity doesn't come from the world. It comes from within. And that clarity, it requires stillness. Let me give you a real-life example. There was a season in my life where I felt constantly distracted. I'd wake up, check my phone before I even got out of bed. Emails, news, social media, bam! My nervous system was already hijacked, and I couldn't figure out why I felt anxious all day, why my creativity disappeared, why I couldn't focus. Until one day, I went on a walk without earbuds, no music, no podcasts, no phone calls, just nature, breath, and silence. It felt strange at first, almost uncomfortable. But then something happened. My thoughts started to settle, my shoulders dropped, and for the first time in days, I could actually hear myself think. That's the reset power of silence. It doesn't take hours. It doesn't require a mountaintop or a meditation retreat. Sometimes all it takes is 5 minutes of conscious stillness to shift your entire day. Here are a few simple ways to start. No phone mornings. Before you check anything, give yourself 5 to 10 minutes of presence. Just breathe, stretch. B. Quiet meals. Eat one meal a day without a screen. Actually, taste your food. Let your mind breathe while your body refuels. Earbud-free walks. Go outside and let the world speak to you. Birds, wind, the rhythm of your own steps. Evening silence. Before bed, turn everything off. Let the final voice you hear be your own. These may seem small, but they carry weight, because in a world that constantly demands your attention, silence is rebellion. It's saying, I don't need more noise to feel alive. I don't need to be constantly stimulated to feel whole. And here's the beautiful truth. When you make room for silence, you start to hear again. Not just the world, but yourself, your intuition, your values, your inner compass. You remember what matters. You stop reacting. You start responding with wisdom, not impulse. So here's your invitation. Don't run from silence. Return to it. Make it part of your day, not just when you're burned out, but as a rhythm, as a ritual, as a gift to your mind. Because stillness isn't weakness. It's not laziness. It's strength. It's clarity. It's power. And in a world full of noise, the person who can sit in silence without fear is the one who truly owns their mind. Self-talk as programming. How you speak is how you live. Let's talk about something that shapes your life more than you think. The way you talk to yourself. I'm not just talking about your occasional thoughts in traffic or when you misplace your keys. I'm talking about that constant inner voice, the one narrating your day, judging your actions, defining who you think you are. Most of us treat self-talk like background noise, harmless, automatic. But here's the truth. Self-talk isn't just commentary, it's code. It's mental programming. And what you repeat to yourself becomes the software your brain runs on. So let me ask you, if someone spoke to you the way you speak to yourself, would you consider them kind or cruel? Because whether you're aware of it or not, your inner language has power. It can build you or break you. It can energize or exhaust you. Let's break this down. When you constantly say things like, I'm so stupid, I always screw this up, I'll never figure this out, your brain doesn't challenge those statements. It doesn't fact check. It simply obeys. Every time you repeat a phrase with enough emotion and frequency, your nervous system absorbs it like a command. Your cortisol levels spike. Your confidence shrinks. And soon it's not just something you say, it's something you believe. But here's the good news. You can reprogram that code. You can choose new language, new patterns, new mental instructions that serve who you're becoming, not who you've been. It starts with awareness. Next time you mess up or feel overwhelmed, listen to your own voice. What does it sound like? Is it helpful? Is it fair? Is it something you'd say to someone you love? If the answer is no, then it doesn't belong in your head either. Now, I'm not saying you need to lie to yourself or cover up real challenges with fake positivity. This isn't about denial, it's about redirection. Instead of saying, I can't do this, try, this is hard, but I'm learning. Instead of, I'm not good enough, try, I'm growing, and growth takes time. These aren't cheesy affirmations. They're mental nutrition. They speak to the reality of struggle, but they point you toward progress, not paralysis. Let me give you a real example. A while back, I launched a new project and it totally flopped. The old me would have said, of course, you're not cut out for this. You're a fraud. But this time I caught it. I paused and I said, this didn't go as planned, but I'm not finished. I'm learning how to make it better. That simple switch changed how I showed up the next day. It didn't erase the failure, but it reframed the story. And that made all the difference. Because here's the thing, the way you talk to yourself when no one's watching is the foundation of how you live when everyone is. It affects your decisions, your relationships, your goals. It affects how high you'll reach and how well you'll recover. So here's what I want you to try. Start noticing your self-talk, especially in moments of stress or shame. Write down the most common negative loops you fall into, then rewrite them, line by line, phrase by phrase, with intention, with honesty, with hope. Practice saying things like, I've failed before, and I got stronger. I feel scared, but I've handled fear before. I don't have to be perfect, I just have to keep showing up. Do it daily, out loud, until your nervous system stops flinching and starts believing. Because in the end, you don't rise above your self-talk. You rise through it. So speak with care, speak with power, speak as the person you're becoming, not the one the past taught you to be. Your words are building your future. Make them count. Move your body to clear your mind. Motion unlocks clarity. Ever feel mentally stuck, like your thoughts are spinning, but you can't seem to break free? You try to think your way out, reason your way through, but nothing seems to work. Here's a truth we often overlook. Your mind isn't stuck, your body is. Think about it. How often do we sit in the same chair, scroll the same feed, worry the same worry, expecting a different result? But here's the science and the Stoic insight. Motion unlocks clarity. When you move your body, whether it's a walk around the block, a light stretch in your living room, or just standing up and taking a breath, you're not just moving muscles. You're activating your nervous system. You're telling your brain, we're not frozen, we're alive. We're choosing presence over paralysis. You see, movement releases neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin, those powerful chemicals that help reset your emotional state. It's like flipping the circuit breaker in your mind. And no, you don't need a CrossFit class or a 10-mile run to get there. What you need is intentional motion. Let me paint you a picture. You're overwhelmed, anxious, stuck in your own head. Try this. Instead of grabbing your phone or pouring another cup of coffee, step outside. Feel the ground under your feet. Look up at the sky. Breathe. Walk slowly. Let your arms swing. Let your body lead, and your mind will follow. This simple act, repeated daily, becomes a ritual, not for fitness, but for mental alignment. The Stoics understood this. Cleanthes, one of the early leaders of the Stoic school, wasn't just a philosopher, he was a manual laborer. He carried water for a living, and he believed physical work helped him stay mentally grounded. Why? Because movement is not a distraction from wisdom. It's often the path to it. How many times have you gone for a walk and come back with a solution you couldn't find sitting still? How often does clarity arrive after you step away, breathe, move, even just a little? It's no coincidence. When energy has nowhere to go, it turns inward, it festers, it becomes tension, restlessness, anxiety. But when you move, you release it, you transform it. You stop being a prisoner of your own thoughts and start becoming present again. Personally, I've made walking a non-negotiable part of my daily routine, not for exercise, not to track steps, but because it clears the fog. It's where ideas show up, where I reconnect with what matters, and most importantly, where I remember that I don't need to have everything figured out to keep moving forward. So here's what I want you to consider. Don't underestimate the power of small motion. When you feel stuck, don't ask, what should I think? Ask, where can I move? Create moments in your day where your body leads the reset. Oh, a 5-minute stretch between Zoom calls. Oh, a walk around the block before you answer that stressful email. Oh, a dance break. Yes, even that counts. You are not a brain in a jar. You are a full system, mind, body, energy. And when you treat your body as a partner, not just a vehicle, you unlock access to a wiser, calmer, more focused version of yourself. Remember, motion isn't just physical, it's philosophical. Every step you take is a reminder. I'm not stuck. I'm alive. I'm moving forward, even if it's one slow step at a time. So don't wait for motivation. Don't wait for the perfect workout plan. Start where you are. Move a little. Breathe deeply, and watch how quickly the noise fades and the clarity returns. Because sometimes the best way to reset your mind is to simply get up and move. Identity is a practice. You build who you are every day. Let me ask you something. Do you think identity is something you find or something you build? Most people are waiting for the right moment, the right feeling, the right sign to finally become who they believe they're meant to be. But here's the truth. You don't find yourself. You practice yourself into existence. Your identity, who you are, is not a label you uncover like buried treasure. It's a brick wall built one decision, one action, one habit at a time. And every day, you're laying bricks. The only question is, are they building the life you want or burying you in the one you're trying to escape? You say you want to be more confident. Okay, how do you speak to yourself when no one's around? You want to be healthier? What did you eat this morning? Did you move your body yesterday? You want to be a writer, a leader, a better parent, a better human? What actions are you practicing today that belong to that version of you? It's easy to think, I'll do it once I feel ready, but that's backwards. You don't act because you're confident. You become confident because you act. Repetition doesn't just build skill, it builds belief. There's something powerful that happens when your actions begin to match your intentions. You stop faking it. You stop hoping. You start embodying. I've seen this play out in real life over and over again. Someone who once thought they had no discipline starts waking up 10 minutes earlier, then 20, then 60. They journal, they move, they plan. And suddenly they're not trying to be disciplined. They are. Why? Because they practiced into it. Not perfectly, not all at once, but persistently, intentionally. Even the Stoics knew this. Marcus Aurelius didn't just talk about virtue, he practiced it daily in his journal. Epictetus reminded his students, don't just study philosophy, live it. So here's your invitation. Stop waiting to feel ready. Stop waiting to be chosen. Choose yourself, and then practice being that person every single day. Because identity isn't built in the big moments. It's built in the quiet ones. The decision to say no when it's easier to say yes. The moment you stand tall even when doubt whispers. The habit you repeat even when no one's watching. Who you are is not some distant dream. It's already inside you, waiting for your actions to prove it true. So build your identity like it matters, because it does. And the world will reflect back exactly what you practice into it. Write your own code. So here we are, at the end of this journey. But really, it's just the beginning. Let me tell you something no one else might be telling you today. You don't need permission to change. Not from your past, not from your parents, not from your friends or the world around you. You already have everything you need to begin. The only thing missing is the decision to stop waiting. Stop waiting to feel ready. Stop waiting for the perfect time. Stop waiting for clarity or certainty. Because guess what? Clarity doesn't come before the leap. It comes from the leap. Real transformation begins the moment you act with courage, not certainty. The moment you choose to take full authorship of your life, not as a victim of your programming, but as the coder of it. Your mind is not your enemy. It's not something broken that needs fixing. It's a powerful tool, a supercomputer that just needs direction, discipline, and practice. And like any tool, its output depends entirely on the input you feed it. Feed it repetition, and it learns. Feed it gratitude, and it softens. Feed it silence, and it listens. Feed it discipline, and it sharpens. Feed it purpose, and it will build a future that reflects it. Every one of the ideas we walk through, intention, identity, simplicity, movement, self-talk, they're not just hacks, they're daily tools. They're the invisible architecture behind every meaningful life you admire. The people who seem unshakable, they're not born that way. They've trained, they've failed, and tried again. They've practiced their future self over and over until the world had no choice but to reflect it back. So now it's your turn, not to admire, not to take notes, but to take ownership. Write your own code. Choose your thoughts on purpose. Train your mind like it matters, because it does. You're not stuck. You're not broken. You're just one new habit, one new story, one new identity away from the version of you that already exists, waiting to be lived into. And if you need a sign, this is it. Now go. You've got a mind to rewire, a life to build, and a legacy to live on your terms.